Welcome back, guys. Today we'll talk about how to start a backend engineer career. At the beginning of the video, I will briefly describe to you what prerequisites are required. After that, in more details, describe your main skills and knowledge that you would need. And closer to the end of the video, I will share with you a couple of secret additional skills that if you would have, you can be a better candidate than 50% of all other beginner backend engineers. So let's go. The prerequisites. That's the crazy stuff, but you just need to have a laptop and internet connection, and that's it. That's all you need, really. You can use any operating system that you wish. You can work on any machine you wish. For example, laptop, desktop PC, all-in-one like iMac, anything. So I assume even on some tablets you can work. But anyway, so backend development. Basically, backend processes and stores all the application data. A backend engineer is responsible for the API layer, he's responsible for data storage, he's responsible as well for business logic, everything that is not connected to the user interaction. It's basically the work of the backend engineer. And in order to start this career, I recommend you to follow the plan. First, you need to get to know one of the main, let's say, languages. C# or Python or Java or JavaScript. I personally recommend you to choose one of these two languages, Java or C#. Reason for that is because both of these languages were laying around the backend development for pretty long time, and nowadays there are tons of frameworks, tons of information related to these languages. So as I said before, I will show you the path for Java and C#, but you're free to choose any other language you wish. So Java. If you would decide to start the career from the Java development, I recommend you one of these three books. First one is called Head First Java. It's basically the book from the well-known publisher. They have tons of different books for different languages and frameworks. Basically, they make really the books for beginners, and this is great because they write in the proper way, not with some hard technical stuff, but instead super easy, super light language that you understand without you won't need to have any previous experience in programming in order to understand that, which is great, I would say. First one is called Java: The Beginner's Guide. Again, it's like a book for beginners, so not that many technical information with super hard words and everything like that, but instead super easy with some examples, anything like that. And the third book that I want to talk with you about is called Effective Java. If you have some previous programming knowledge, for example, you already know JavaScript or you already know C, C++, or any other language, and you understand the basic syntax of the Java, you can read this book because it gives you more details and describes you more hacks how to make a more efficient code in Java. But instead, if you didn't have any previous experience, I personally don't recommend you to start on this one. Really, start from the Head First or the Beginner's Guide. These two books will give you an easier beginning of the career, and you would understand everything faster, because if you will start from this book, you will spend lots of time just trying to understand what has been written there, instead of already coding some fancy stuff. All of these books that I'm talking about here and now are mentioned in the description section below, so you can pause the video, click on it, and buy the book if you wish. On the other hand, if you would choose the C# career path, I recommend you to read one of these three books. First one, again, obviously it had first C#. Yes, the same publisher, so it tells us that the style of writing will be easy and you can easily understand everything that is written there, so you can faster start your career. If you don't like the Head First publisher in general and you think that they are writing dumb stuff, okay, there is a book called Programming in C#. It's from different publisher. It's more in details about C# and everything that is around there, and but still it's for beginners, so it's easy to understand. You wouldn't need any previous experience to start writing the code in C#. But if you have some previous experience and you already know how to write code, there is a book, C# and .NET, the cross-platform programming. This book is for you. You would have already some knowledge not about the programming language, but some basic knowledge about .NET, which is even better. If you don't have any previous experience, I don't recommend you reading this book. Honestly, it will be hard for you. You will be crying, shouting, saying rude words, instead of writing code. So better choose any of previous books, but not this one. So as a next step, after studying the programming language, you would need to learn some of the frameworks. What is a framework? Framework is basically a set of libraries and some code that's already implemented, especially for the backend engineers. So if you choose as a main programming language, the Java language, you would need to study the Spring framework, since it's one of the most popular and widely used. If you choose C#, there is everything obviously .NET, because Microsoft developed .NET on top of the C#, so it's like tightly coupled. If you choose for example, Python, there is a Django framework. If you want to know the Ruby language, there is a Ruby on Rails, and for JavaScript, there is Express.js framework. You're free to choose any language, as I said before, but you cannot be that agile in selection of the frameworks, because each framework is tightly coupled with the programming language. So if you have chosen the C# path, here are some books that you might find useful for the .NET framework. First one is called Pro C# with .NET. This book is basically about more deep details of C# and the details of the .NET framework. I personally recommend you read it only after you have read any of the beginner's book for the C# language. Next book that I want to talk about is called ASP.NET Core. This book is basically about the .NET Core framework and don't touch that much the C# language. And the third book that I mentioned in the section before is called C# with .NET Modern Cross-Platform Development. Basically, this book, as it covers both topics, you can read it as a shortcut, but I personally recommend you to separate. For example, at first read the book dedicated to the C# language, and then only read the book about the .NET framework. If you have decided to choose the dark side and study the Java language, here are some Spring books that might help you with that. First one is called Spring Boot. Basically, that's a book about Spring framework and everything that's connected to that. Second book is called Spring in Action. Again, it gives you basic knowledge, but it has a better style of writing, so it's more understandable for the beginners. But if you like more intermediate one and you already know something about the backend development, the book Pro Spring might be the better choice for you. As a next step, after you have studied the programming language and the framework, it's good to know what is computer networking. You need to know what is IP protocol, what is DNS name, how they're connected, how data is transmitted from one node on the network to another node in the network. So the courses that I found for you, basically 2 of them for beginners and 1 for those who are interested more in details about that. Basically the beginners course, one of them is on Udemy platform, second one on the Coursera platform. By the way, the course that is created on the Coursera platform is created by the Google. So basically, if you would choose this one, you can put it into your CV as okay guys, I know not only the programming language and the framework, but also I have gained the certificate from the Google course about computer networking. But if you really want to know more how it's all structured and how it works, I recommend you to follow the Coursera specialization that gives you more details about that. Now I want to tell you about 3 more secret skills that can help you become the best backend engineer at the beginning. So the first one is you need to study the algorithms and data structures. And for that, the book which is called Introduction to Algorithms by Thomas Corman can help you. This book is about what is algorithms, how do they work, how to implement them, what is data structures, how they connected, how they different one from another, and everything like that. Reason for that, why we need to know that, because it gives you the skill of problem solving. The second skill that I want to share with you, it's knowledge about databases. Basically, I wouldn't recommend any big course or book for that, but instead you can Google some small online courses or YouTube videos or maybe Wikipedia. That will be enough for you to have the basic knowledge. So what do you need to know? You need to know what is database, how one database differs from other database, how to design databases. You wouldn't need to design big databases, just small one. You need to know what is SQL, what is NoSQL, how these 2 databases differs. what other types of databases are present, and everything connected to that. Basically, the more you will find and know, the better it would be for you. Since you wouldn't need as a beginner engineer to develop a big database, there is like no requirement for that. But knowing how to work with them is vitally important. And the third secret skill that I want to share with you is knowledge about design patterns in object-oriented programming. Basically, it's a knowledge about how to code and implement the reusable components and how to write a proper architecture of your code so that make it stable, both efficient and fast. And that would be enough for you for today. So if you enjoyed this video, please support my channel and subscribe to it and put a like to this video. And if you have any questions or want to share with me some additional knowledge about backend engineer, please put it in the comment section below. I'm really happy to answer all of them. Cheers, bye.